Hi and welcome to Brisbane Swords. I'm James. I want to put together a few videos just on some basics, mostly the beginner stuff, but if you have any questions obviously throw them at me and we'll be able to either delve a little bit deeper into some detail or look at it from another perspective or just answer questions that I haven't covered. I'm going to primarily be working through Fiore's Getty manuscript, primarily because I think it's a bit more complete. It's got most of the information, it's got a lot of text as well as some really good images. If you want me to look at or compare to the other three manuscripts, by all means ask. We can certainly have a look at those as well. There's not a lot of difference, but obviously there will be some other little details in the wording or in the images that are used. I'm going to start with a bit of basics in terms of footwork and structure. I think that's a really good place to start. Let's have a look at how do we actually set ourselves to start with. How do we work with our feet to make sure that we're doing the right thing and we've got the best amount of structure. If I just stand normally, and you'll see in a number of the unarmed guards or in the dagger work, it's a fairly simple structure. Knees are a little bit bent, and if I'm being particular about my frontale guard, sorry, my iron gate guard, I'm here. It's a really ready position. Now I'm thinking in terms of wearing a heavy suit of armour, 20 to 30 kilos worth of steel. It's a lot, but in some cases that's sort of an upper end. But I'm not going to be standing up straight because I need to be able to take the weight of all of that on my knees. I need to have my shoulders over my hips, and also my pelvis will be rolled forward, not ducktailed out. Right? I'm just going to carry all of the weight of what I'm carrying. And that's a really good basic structure. It also puts me in a position that's nice and ready. I'm weighted 50-50. I can move either way, or forwards or backwards, or obviously off to the diagonals as I need. The easiest way to go if I'm being a right-hander, and obviously as a left-handed person watching this, just reverse the stuff around. As a right-hander, I want my left foot forward, so I'm naturally just going to fall backwards. I'm not going to push a long way, even though some of Fiore's guards are a bit longer, but I'm just going to naturally take a step back. Again, I'm nice and grounded. I'm not at this point in time weighted forwards or backwards, okay? And the distance is about a shoulder width, as I always say, but it's probably a little bit longer than that. This is a nice, simple, knees bent position. Things to be aware of. My foot faces forwards at my opponent. My front knee is over my front toes, roughly. And my knee isn't inwards or outwards. This can cause issues. Alright, so facing in the same directions. My back knee, and as you can see, my knee tends to point just inwards, so you can see it's a bit inwards, and it probably shouldn't be. Best practice is that it's actually pointed at my toes. Right, this is important for knee health as well as anything else. Again, I haven't got my shoulders over my knees, my shoulders are over my hips. Right? If I do that, I may, if I need to be for comfort, push that back toe out a little bit. This is actually good because what it does is it actually widens my hips, allows me to roll my pelvis forwards. Keep going, right? And it gives me good structure. If I'm sticking my pelvis back, my backside out, my shoulders are forwards, my structure is out of balance, so I need to bring my shoulders over my hips, and it helps to roll my pelvis forwards. This actually lets me sit into this position quite strongly. Alright, if I just turn this around, I'm like this, as you can see. I'm quite straight from where I am. Even if I weight shift, I'm going to change features so that it makes it a bit more obvious. If I change my weight, notice I don't go forwards with my head or my shoulders. I go forwards with my core, with my hips. Okay? I can lean forward a little bit, but there's a problem with that, is that I tend to end up here. So sitting into this, it's easier for me to weight shift forwards or weight shift back. Notice what happens. This is something that we'll see through Fiore and Vardy. Knee bends, other knee goes straight. Knee bends, other knee goes straight. So I've got this action. And notice that the direction that the knee bends is the direction of the foot, the direction of the foot. If I'm turning my foot inwards here, notice that as I weight shift forwards or backwards, the way the knee bends, the knee straightens, or the knee bends, the knee straightens, being really aware that the direction that my knee bends is in the same direction at the foot that it's bending over. As I go forwards, my knee bends in the same direction as that front foot. As I weight shift this way, notice my knee bends over my foot. If my foot is bent out, my knee bends further out over that foot. If my foot is inwards, my knee bends with that one, the same direction. It's really important not to try to have your knee bend this way. Doing that does weird things to the hip structure and also does bad things for your knee. Right. Now this action, added with the turning of the torso, is what is known as a volta stabile, a stable turn or a turn in place. Okay, now Fiore actually tells us that the stable turn allows us to play on both sides, either this side or this side. He's referring to our side, not the side of the opponent. So I can play from one side to the other. And this is just as relevant for sword as it is for unarmed, as it is for dagger work. There, into there. So what's interesting is that Fiore tells us about 3 styles of turning, or volta. Now, as I just showed you, the volta stabile, the stable turn, allows me to go from one side to another. It includes a form of weight shift. Alright, it's important, as I said, long sword, all of the other weapons, unarmed, and even dagger. The second turn that he mentions is the mezza volta. Now, there's another section of text that talks about 4 styles of moving, which is passing. It's the first one that he mentions. Now, from this position that I'm in, as I pass, the mezza volta allows me to play from one side to the other side with a step. It's called passing because one foot passes the other. Right? Now, how do I do this with my feet? Obviously, I keep my structure and my shoulders over my hips. I weight shift forwards. Now, it's possible that I could start somewhat weight shifted onto my front foot, and this isn't a bad place to be, but I still have to make sure that my shoulders and hips are in alignment. Right? As I pass forwards, I can start 50-50, weight shift forwards, pushing off that back foot. Right? And as I do, I pass, and that back foot will turn. Right? I don't turn and step because it does weird things to my foot, and it also, if I turn, it makes it difficult for me to step this way or this way. If my foot stays here, it's much quicker for me to put my foot where I want it immediately. Okay, so here I am. I start my step, and as I land heel down, and in order to resettle my weight, that's where the back foot will turn. If I go off to the side, notice my back foot doesn't have to turn. If I go off to this side, my back foot has to turn a lot more. So this is my passing step, or my mezzo volta half turn. Because I'm turning from this side to this side. It's a bit exaggerated. Right, so that's my mezzo volta. The second form of action, or stepping, that Fiore talks about is the tornare. Now, it could be a turn, but he uses volta as a turn, meaning that kind of turn. Tornare and also invade is used more as a return. Go forwards, I pass forwards, and I pass back. So I've got the passare and the tornare, so the return. Pass forwards, tornare back, tornare back. That's pretty simple stuff. The third and the fourth style of stepping that Fiore mentions is the accrescere and the decrescere. We talk about that being the advance and the withdrawal. Now, some people might call it the increase and the decrease. And there's a couple of different ways of looking at this. To keep it in its simplest definition or interpretation, an accrescere, an increase or an advance, is simply getting closer to my opponent. I can do this as simple as taking a step with my leading foot and going forwards. I'm advancing, or I'm increasing my distance. Some people talk about increasing the distance between the feet, decreasing the distance between the feet. I think this is a little bit not quite what Fiore is talking about. But there are certainly valid movements, but I don't think that's a good interpretation of the accrescere decrescere concept. So to accrescere, I go forwards. I can, if I'm going forwards, if my back foot stays there, that means I'm coming backwards. Alright, 1, 2. If I'm staying where I'm going to, I need to bring up that back foot. It's a very mechanical movement to demonstrate, and I am back in the same position that I was at. At all the times, I'm still in good structure with my shoulders over my hips and at a reasonable angle. Not straight forwards on, and certainly not side on. Some people have slightly different biomechanics and slightly different body structures, so it might mean that as they do this, they sit a little bit more straight on. It's probably worth trying to relax into a closer to 45 degrees, but for some of the girls, this is uncomfortable, so you find a place that you settle into. It's the same with guys as well who have different body structures. We're all a little bit differently, so you've got to work to find what works best for you whilst keeping in the principles of what we're doing. Right, so we were talking about the accrescere, and next the decrescere. It's exactly the same thing. I'm going backwards, so I lead with my back foot, and I reset that foot. Forwards, backwards. Now just with the advance and the retreat, I can choose and manage the distance that I want. I can have a little accrescere, a little decrescere to steal or to manage distance. I can have very long advance and retreat, or I can in fact have double actions. 1, 2. So it's important to understand to manage and utilize that as I need the distance. Okay, and I manage my range. I can obviously go to the diagonals, nice and simple, and reset that back foot. Now, I can do the same thing going off to the other diagonal, and going backwards as well with my back. Now, the only problem with that is that as I go forwards, and technically this is not an accrescere, okay, this is actually goes into the volta, into the tutta volta, because this foot is rotating around the other foot. Let's get to that next. As I go here, I'm turning my angle, my side profile to my opponent, and I'm actually facing more this way, which I don't want to do because I'm managing the opponent. So instead, I will pass. Now, as I pass, I need to restructure, and I can reset this foot so I'm in good structure again. Okay. Going back as well, if I do this once again, I'm facing in the wrong direction. Right? So I will pass back and reset. Now what's really important to note is that I can do this, I don't need to do a full pass, I might just do this to go around. It's more of a traverse because I'm moving around a circle. Okay, so there are options. Another important thing to understand is that at all times I'm still keeping my good structure. Even if I go forwards or backwards, I'm keeping this structure in every direction that I go. The risk of not doing that is either going backwards, which means my opponent can overpower me, or if I go forwards, I'm leading with my head, putting my head into danger, and again I'm here, and it makes it difficult for me to continue my action. Right. He also talks, as we were talking about, the 3 volta. We've already done the volta stabile, the mezza volta, and the last one is the tutta volta, the full or the whole turn. He's very clear in saying the tutta volta is where one foot rotates around another. He certainly doesn't say that it needs to rotate all the way. Therefore, as we've seen in class, even this much of an action technically what Fiore calls a Fora di Strada, stepping out of the way, off the line or off the street. This is also a tutta volta. This is a tutta volta, just the little steps that rotate around the other foot as a central point. This is really important to understand. Fiore specifically gives information about the volta stabile, where I turn and play from side to side. He also talks about the tutta volta, where it is the rotation of one foot around another, right? But he doesn't actually give a detailed description of the mezza volta. That's because later on it is part of the passare and the tornare, and so you understand that action. So they're the footwork actions. There is one other set of footwork that Fiore actually describes. It's more of a combination of action called Fora di Strada alla traversa, out of the way and then traversing across. It's Fora di Strada, out of the way, one way or another, a tutta volta of a kind, and then alla traversa, which is passing across. Now this could be passing across your other foot, or it could just be passing across the line to your opponent. So it's important to understand those little actions. Right. Very often it will be 1 and 2, or 1 and 2. Interestingly enough, you can do it backwards. 1 and 2, or 1 and 2. So you'll see that it is actually a tutta volta with a passare. Something worth noting is that Fiore also talks about the fact that each of those 3 turns can be done with the sword, and we'll do that next.